Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by Cachefly. Cachefly.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Radio Networks on Sunday, May 6th, 2012. This is episode 872. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by ShareFile. Enhance your workflow. Send files of almost any size easily and securely with ShareFile. Brought to you by Citrix. Try ShareFile today. For a great offer, a 30-day free trial and double storage, visit sharefile.com, click the radio microphone, and use my offer code TechGuy. Well, hello. How are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. And it's time to talk about computers, the internet, and cell phones, camcorders, MP3 players, home theater, and all that jazz. I've got that list memorized. Actually, we can cross a few things off, but nobody talks about MP3 players. And what is that even? What is that? I don't know what. Even the iPod really has been supplanted by the iPhone. I guess we thought this day would come where you'd have one thing in your pocket that does everything. It's kind of replaced the GPS too. I guess people still buy standalone GPS devices, but I don't know why. So let's see. Cell phones. Camcorders? Does anybody buy I think you've got a camcorder in your digital camera, and if you didn't, you'd have one in your phone. I think more and more the point and shoot camera is being replaced by the good cameras in the new smartphones, and then they do video. So okay, well, sorry. So let's start over again. Computers, yeah, that's right. I think we still use those, but not much longer. Okay. The internet, yeah. Cell phones for sure. Okay, yeah. Camcorders. MP3 players, GPS, PDAs, home theater. Oh, yeah, there's something. You know, it's funny because when I first started doing this show, it was just computers, period. It was Windows and a little Mac. Of course, that was back in 1992, 91. Then, and then we got the internet a couple of years later, so then became computers and the internet. But it wasn't until... Well, we talked a little bit about cell phones, but it wasn't really until 2007 when the iPhone came out that cell phones became really an interesting computer in your pocket. And then you could start crossing off things. So it's kind of interesting. What do you think? Do you think in 4 or 5 years it might not be computers anymore? It might just be... We talk about tablets and phones, and I guess a little home theater, and that'll be about it. Whatever. If it's got a chip in it, I'll talk about it. 8888 Ask Leo. In fact, sometimes we even go beyond that. We talk about all sorts of silly stuff. 888-827-5536. Toll free anywhere in the U.S. Outside the U.S., you call Skype out. We'll give you, any VoIP program will give you a free call to a toll-free number in the U.S. So give me a ring. Let's talk about whatever is on your digital mind. A lot of conversation about the new Samsung Galaxy S3. Yeah, there's a new Android phone. Wow, I could do that every week, couldn't I? There's a new Android. I mean, we just record that. There's a new Android phone. It's nice. It's nice. It's good. It's big. I think phones these days are big. 4.8 inches. That is pretty big. Galaxy Note, which is also from Samsung, is 5.3 inches. So that's still the king. That's not even a phone. That's a phablet. A phone and tablet. Or do you call it a tabloon? That sounds like a candy. Sounds like something from Switzerland. Would you like a tabloon? That's fine Swiss chocolate. But I think the phones are getting big. I think there's no doubt about it. The 4-inch screens are kind of the standard. HD's got to be 720p or better. And then I look at the iPhone with its little teeny little bitty itty bitty 3.5-inch screen, and I have to acknowledge it's still the best-selling smartphone out there. You see a lot of numbers these days, but the number that counts is the official number given by the carriers, at least in the U.S. I don't know what it is outside the U.S., but in the U.S., Verizon, 51% of all the smartphones it sells, not of all the phones. They still sell, I guess, what you'd call, I call them dumb phones, but I think they prefer to call them feature phones. That is, they have no features. So 51% of all smartphones at Verizon are iPhones, which is funny because Verizon doesn't really. I mean, I guess they've pushed the Droid like crazy, so the Android is big, and so I guess that makes sense. So 51% of is iPhone. In AT&T land, where they've been selling the iPhone since day one, 78% of all the smartphones they sell are iPhones. So this was in the last quarter. So there's no question, and I don't know what Sprint's numbers. They haven't released those, but there's you got to figure Sprint. It's a big deal. In fact, Sprint, it's such a big deal that their CEO just took a pay cut because they spent so much money to get the iPhone. They committed to billions of dollars in iPhone purchases. And the boss had to take a pay cut. Whoops. Do you get stressed by your email? Yes. This is the latest. A study from the University of California in Irvine released on Thursday says, take an email vacation to reduce stress and increase concentration. Deal. I'll do it today. You know, I'm kind of famous for just like ignoring my email. People think I'm crazy. That's like when you say, I don't have an answering machine. It's like, what century do you live in? I don't do email. What? But I was right, because according to this study at the University of California, Irvine, being cut off from work email, notice they say work email. For me, all emails work email. But being cut off from work email significantly reduces stress and allows employees to focus far better. This is actually a joint study from the University of California at Irvine and the United States Army. I'm glad the Army is spending money studying this. Heart rate monitors were attached to computer users in a suburban office setting, and then they put software on the computer to see how often they did their email. People who read email change their screens twice as often and were in a steady high alert state. You know, we have biologically, of course, we are not prepared for email. Biologically, we're really not prepared for anything that we have in our lives. Modern life is something that our genes just didn't know about. And the primary stress, I'm told by doctors, the primary stress impulse is that fight or flight reaction. Everything's cool, it's smooth, it's copacetic, it's relaxed, you're just chilling until that tiger jumps out of the jungle, and then you got a choice. You can fight it or you can flee. And either way, adrenaline goes up, heart rate spikes, blood pressure spikes. That's stress. Apparently, we confuse email with a jungle leaping out, a tiger leaping out of the jungle. I think it's our bodies are going, I don't know, should I fight it or should I run? According to Professor Gloria Mark, when you remove email from workers' lives, they multitask less, and experience less stress. I think this is not surprising. I think if you think about it, you realize that people, if you just think about it, when you ask yourself, how often do you check email? A lot of actually organizational experts, not just stress scientists, but organizational experts say, do not check it every 10 minutes. That's not a good idea. Check it once in the morning, once at night. See, then it won't be fight or flight. It'll be withdrawal. I'll bet you. But what if there's something important? Dream76 in our chat room says, I check my email every time my phone dings. That's like Pavlov's dog. But instead of your mouth watering, your phone dings, you go, email. I gotta check the email. I gotta check it right now. People with email switched windows, task switched, on an average of 37 times an hour. That's more. It's like every 2 minutes. Those without email, they only changed about 18 times an hour. That's still a lot, isn't it? What are you doing? I mean, I don't understand. Every 3 minutes you're changing your window? That means you're writing something and every 3 minutes you do something else? Even that sounds a little bad, doesn't it? 8888 Ask Leo. Let's talk about it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hey, let me talk about ShareFile real quickly. ShareFile.com. This is from Citrix. And Citrix saw a need, basically. Email, of course, is how most of us share files. But you've heard me say over and over again, no attachments, right? So that's problem number one. Problem number two is most of these files that we're sharing nowadays are so big, you couldn't even email them if you wanted to. PowerPoints, 3D renderings, all of this stuff. When we were exchanging studio files, actually Roger would actually mail me a USB key because you can't. These are giant. He had hundreds of layers in this Photoshop file. I wish we'd known about ShareFile at the time. ShareFile.com. It looks like email. It isn't. They have an Outlook plugin that makes it look just like you're emailing stuff. But it's secure. You see here, encryption, SSAE 16 security. It's HIPAA compliance. I mean, we're talking, whatever your industry, this is a real solution designed for business. ShareFile. Of course, it works on any operating system, Mac or PC. But if you are using Outlook, you're going to really like that plugin. And we've got a deal for. Of course, we got a deal for you. If we go to sharefile.com and you click the green button that says "Listeners, click here." I'm pretty sure that's it. And then the name or offer code you want to use is TechGuy, TECHGUI, one word. There you go. You can select your industry, but you don't have to. And then you get the 30-day trial, and you see here, radio listeners, double storage, which is nice. You really send ginormous files. So what do you get? Well, you get file syncing, you get file tracking and notifications. You have access control, so you can say who can open, send, and receive files and folders. You could say who can see it. You could turn access off. So if you share something with somebody and they no longer are a client, you could turn it off. Of course, they have iPhone, iPad, Android, even BlackBerry and Windows Phone apps. So I want you to give it a try. ShareFile.com, and do please use the offer code TechGuy to get 30 days free and double storage. If you've been, there's all sorts of ways to share files. I'll give you an example. We were using the other guy, Dropbox, to share files with, and I got in a fight with the people at KFI because they keep deleting the files that I put in the Dropbox. They delete them. He says, well, that's how you know I got them. I said, but there's other people. Please don't delete them. And he said, no, I'm going to delete them. And there's nothing I can, in the way Dropbox works, there's nothing I can do. So guess what I'm doing now? I learned my lesson. ShareFile.com. Use the offer code TechGuy. Okay, are you trying to put me in fight or flight? Are you trying to stress me out? My heart is
got mail.
Pumping cortisol. All right, stop! I know I've got mail. Is that your email, Kyle Benham, our musical director? Is that your email siren? Does that go?
You got mail.
I think good idea. Okay, first thing I do, absolutely, is I turn that off. I do not have a mail notifier anywhere on anything, whether it's phone, computer, laptop, tablet. No. Because it would be going off all the time. So the last thing I want to do is be notified. And I'm pretty good. I think I don't check my email more than a couple of times a day. I should test it, though, shouldn't I? There are some programs that you can use to monitor how you use your computer. They're kind of interesting. I can't remember the names. There was one for the Mac. Actually, there's several that would just sit in the background and would tell you then after a few, weeks of using it, what you'd been doing. Like how much time you spent in word processor, how much time you spent surfing the net, how much time you spent in email. I think that'd be kind of interesting, wouldn't it? I don't mean a keystroke logger, and I mean this was something designed specifically so that you could see how much time you wasted playing solitaire and things like that. I'll find the name of it. It's kind of interesting. I remember doing that for a while. And then I stopped because it was distracting. All right, let's go to the phones. 88, speaking of distracting, the lights are blinking at me. My body is constantly in fight or flight. Constantly. 8888. Ask Leo is the phone number. The website, by the way, I should mention, is techguylabs.com. techguylabs.com, and you can go there and get not only the phone number, but show notes for all the shows. James came back. He took the day off yesterday, but he's got the show notes up from Saturday's show. He's already started Sunday's show. We've got lists there of the chat, how you get in the chat room. We've got a wonderful chat room. Is it Rescue Time? Is that the name of the program? See, I'm so easily distracted. You have to understand that not only am I sitting in front of a bank of blinking phone lights, urgently saying, pick up the phone, pick up the phone. I've got people in my ears telling me stuff. I've got a screen in front of me, several screens. And then there's the email. I got the chat room going. Rescue Time. That's the name of the Thank you, Kyle.
You've got mail.
All right, I got it. This is rescuetime.com. This is interesting. Am I really spending my days the way I want to? So Rescue Time, I guess, watches you while you're computing. And you can even get it for a business. Rescue Time Lite is free, and it will give you real-time stats 30 minutes after. Now there you go. If you pay, you can get your stats every 3 minutes. What? It's crazy. Okay, how often do I check my email? Let's check that every 3 minutes. Otherwise, it's $6 a month if you want to know constantly. Block distracting websites for short bursts of quality focus. Short notice they say short bursts. We wouldn't want to focus for a long time. See your efficiency and attention trends over time. Rank your productivity on a per app, per site basis. Get document-level insight into where your time goes. Create goals and track your progress towards them. Track offline time. This sounds good. I might have to get this. And make all my staff use it. No, they're shaking their heads now. Matthew, East Pennsboro, Pennsylvania. You are next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Matthew.
Hello, Leo. I'm hoping to get some advice. I have been invited to, and I've accepted an opportunity to speak to my son's middle school at Career Day. And I'll have about 20 minutes to talk about my profession, which is a web developer. And although I was going to give them some information about the business and what it takes to be successful, I was really hoping to give them some case studies about the tech leaders in the industry and how they saw things and how they've solved problems and how they've made life easier and have become very successful at it.
How much time do you have, Matthew?
Oh, I know, only 20 minutes.
You know, I'm thrilled that you're doing this. I think it's a very valuable thing for 7th and 8th graders to hear about this, because first of all, I don't think it is one of the hottest professions out there, as you probably well know, and it's only going to grow and get better. And I don't think it's the kind of thing. It's such a new profession. It's really less than 10 years old. So I don't think that it's the kind of thing that most middle school teachers know about. The curriculum, I'm sure, has nothing about web development. In middle school, they rarely even have any kind of technology classes. So you got 20 minutes to tell them everything they need to know for the next 5 years. And the biggest story is this is a great job. I'm not sure I would worry about case studies, Matthew. I think what would be great is to talk about why you got into it and what it is about it that you like and why it might be a profession they might like. And then play Code Monkey by Jonathan Colton. Have you ever heard that song?
I love Jonathan Colton. Yeah.
And say, here's what it's really like being a web developer. You want me to take case studies? There's a lot of case studies. I mean, you certainly could do, if you were willing to do some reading, I would certainly read. How far afield do you want to go? Do you want to just go with web developers, or do you want to...
Well, any type of application, really, that...
There's a great book that one of my favorite books. You should read it anyway because you are a developer. Let me see if it's still in print. It was called Programmers at Work by Susan Lammers. And yeah, you have to get it. I think you probably have to get it. Wow, used. It says they still have it new, but it's $86, and that's not right because it's a paperback. It's a collection of interviews with Bill Gates, you mentioned, Wayne Ratcliffe, who wrote DBase, John Warnock, who wrote PostScript and was at Adobe, started Adobe, Andy Hertzfeld, who wrote the Macintosh operating system. This is one of the best books I've ever read for talking to programmers about how they do what they do and what it means to them. I think, you can always tell people, and the kids know Bill Gates, and you can always tell people, he became the richest man in the world because he knew how to write software. But those are the kind of outliers, frankly. I'm not sure that's like talking about Shaquille O'Neal and saying you ought to learn how to play basketball. I think the day-to-day work of a programmer is very interesting. And I think you can talk about what the skills are, why it's a great job, because it really is the future, right? One thing kids I've noticed, by the way, I've done this to high school kids several times in engineering classes and stuff. And I think one of the things kids are kind of semi-aware. First of all, we assume that because they grew up in the internet era, they're super aware of technology, and they're not. In fact, they're less so, and I think in some ways, than our generation. Well, you're younger than me, but my generation or your generation, because it's like water to a fish. It's just in their environment. It doesn't stand out to them in the way it stood out to us as the world changed so dramatically over the last 20 years. So one thing I'd talk about is how code is everywhere. They're running software all the time, even every website. Even that's an eye-opener to them. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Stream. This song is by Jonathan Coulton. He's online, Jonathan Coulton with a Coulton. You can listen to all his songs. It's an interesting story. He was a code monkey, a programmer for many years who loved music, decided he wanted to pursue a career in music. He never signed with a label. He did it all himself on the web, touring like crazy. He created a great following of geeks because his songs are very funny and literate, and they appeal to the geek crowd. And he's doing quite well, thank you. And you get all of his songs online for free, but you can also buy them. In fact, for $80, you buy every song he's ever done. Of course, I did that immediately. But we were talking. This is a great conversation, a great topic. What do you tell a bunch of kids in middle school about programming, about being a web developer, about the job, about technology in general? And somebody in the chat room said you got to remind him that 90% of the kids won't care anyway, no matter what he says. And that's also true. But every teacher, especially middle school teachers, knows that. You cast your seeds upon the ground and just hope that some of them grow. So we won't worry about that. Don't be disappointed, I guess, if half the kids are going, staring off into space. The other kids, half are writing notes. If you get one or two of them excited about development, web development, then you've really done a good job. The things I would tell them about are ways they can learn and find out more on their own. Because the truth is, at least through, I think, high school level, the really good technology education is very rare. Would you agree, Eli? You're a freshman in high school, right? Eli's teaching himself by interning here, by doing extracurricular stuff. And the school you go to, which is a very good school, I know because I'm on the board of trustees for the school. The school you go to does have I think a programming class, a Java programming class, and they have some engineering classes, but that's rare. And the problem with teaching this stuff is really the people who teach it best are people who do it professionally, not teachers. It is so something that changes so rapidly that it's hard to develop a curriculum because every year there's a new language, a better language, a new way of doing things. So really, going through 12th grade, you're not going to get a lot of, you should take math. You should learn as much as you can. But truthfully, most of what kids are learning until they get to college is self-taught. But the good news is there's a ton of stuff out there. Let's start with Khan Academy, which is every middle schooler and high school should know about Khan Academy because every class that they're taking, they can go online, KHAN Academy.com, and watch videos that are essentially really great teaching in every possible subject, including math, science, finance, econ, humanities, and more. And, of course, computer and technology. So Khan Academy is a great place to start. 3,100 free, by the way. Everything I'm going to tell you about is free right now. Educational programs. This guy, Salman Khan, who did this, is really a labor of love. Brilliant. He doesn't have advertisements on here. Just asks for donations, and he has done so much. What a great place to learn. That's a good starting place. Speaking of academies, there's a place called Code Academy that is currently, and this is a startup, teaching how to program in weekly lessons online, free. That's codeacademy.com. I believe they're teaching Ruby. I'm not sure if I'm remembering that correctly. It might be JavaScript, but it doesn't matter. It's a language. That's free and a very good way if you want to learn a programming language. Code Academy. And then absolutely tell the kids that, you know what, that iTunes thing that you're downloading the latest from Drake on, that hip hop you're listening to, there's also a button, look right here, it says iTunes U. Guess what's there? College level courses in every field, including the best computer science classes in the country, from MIT and Stanford and Yale and Harvard, free. So there's for instance, every year Stanford does a world-famous class on programming iOS, writing software for iPhones and iPads. The class is led by Stanford professors in computer science, but also they bring in adjunct professors from Apple. And every year they teach this class, and a great many very well-known iPhone apps have come out of this class. And not a few of the students have done pretty darn well by taking this class and writing code. So that's one to look for, the Stanford iOS class. In the chat room, Xander is saying there's another one. There's a new iPad class from Carnegie Mellon on iTunes U that's very good. iTunes U is an amazing resource. College-level classes, in many cases, with all you need, including not just the lectures, but the assignments, the courseware, the tests, everything. It's amazing. I can go on and on, but there's three very, very good resources. So what you're hoping, I think, when you talk to kids in middle school and high school at this point, is explain to them you're using code all the time. When you go to Facebook, you know what you're doing? You're running software. That's code that's running not on your computer. Some of it's running on your computer. Some of it's running on Facebook. But somebody wrote that. And by the way, want a case study? That somebody going to be a millionaire in about 3 weeks. When Facebook goes public. Did I say million? Maybe billionaire? Maybe Mark Zuckerberg, the guy who wrote the original code. I doubt he writes code anymore, but the guy who wrote the original code when he was a sophomore at Harvard 7 years ago will be worth $14 billion when Facebook goes public. He's 27 years old. 14 billion. There's a case study. Really fantastic case study, but again, an outlier. It's like talking about, hey, you could be Dennis Rodman or Shaquille O'Neal. You know, not everybody's going to be a superstar of tech, but you can make a nice living too. And everything needs to be written. There's coding everywhere, and there's lots of opportunity. I know one of the things that entrepreneurs talk about these days is you should be teaching kids not how to get a job, but how to make a job, how to create a job, how to make their own job. And I think this is one area in particular where learning some skills, and these are, by the way, can I tell you a secret? It ain't rocket science. Writing software is pretty easy, actually. You don't have to be a super genius or wizard. You don't even have to have super math skills. Algebra 2 level, maybe a little bit trig. That's enough. You don't have to be a math whiz. In fact, some of the best coders I know are not great at math, maybe not even great at coding, but they have great insight into what makes something great, cool. It's the best coders will have some insight into what humans are like, have some curiosity and a native interest, and so that's what you're trying to sell. You talk to these kids and say, look, there's a great opportunity here. I know you know, for the next 6 years, your job is going to be to figure out what you want to do with your life. And not all of you should be programmers. Not all of you would enjoy programming. But if you like puzzles, if you like brain challenges, if you like solving problems, if you're fascinated by the computers and the internet, then maybe you should consider programming, because what a great career, especially as we go forward. Everything is code nowadays. Everything. Doc Mark in Syracuse. Mark's a Koenig. Hello, Doc.
Oh, how are you doing, Leo?
Good to talk to you.
How was your trip?
I was in Norway. I didn't even mention this. Yeah, wonderful. Had a beautiful... boy, the fjords are gorgeous. I'm pining for them right now.
Neat.
Yeah.
I learned about iTunes U from you, and it's got some great stuff. And there's a problem with going to Khan Academy if you're not really going to study.
Mark, hang on, because we got to take a break. When we come back, you can tell us. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
I want to be on the cover of Forbes magazine, smiling next to Oprah and the Queen. Oh, every time I close my eyes,
yes, if you learn to program,
I see my name in shining.
You could be on the cover of Forbes standing next to Oprah and the Queen. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo's the phone number. Doc Mark on the line from Syracuse. You were saying there's a problem with
Khan Academy.
Khan Academy? What's the problem?
If you don't study and you don't pay attention, your teachers, you might have to bear the wrath of Khan.
Khan! Yeah, you know, the funny thing about Khan Academy and iTunes U is without motivation, completely worthless.
Anything like that.
Everything is, you know. I keep telling my kid that.
Somebody who goes back to school as an adult finds it easy because they wanted it.
Right.
Optometry school was easy, straight A's for me because at the time I wanted it.
I agree. Youth is wasted on the young.
I'm having a challenge, Leo. It's an interesting one, and if it happened to me, then it happens to many. I have an iPhone 4S on Verizon. My month starts on the 29th. I'm using my phone as a hotspot at work. There have to be settings for me to change on my MacBook Air, because 3 days later, on the 1st, I got a text message from Verizon saying I had used half of my 2 gig quota for the month.
How dare they?
3 days. No television, no movies, nothing like that.
Yeah, but you're using it at a hotspot at work to do what?
I use it to look at my schedule. I use it for silly stuff like email and Facebook. So there are some kind of settings I need to set. One of them might be that it's trying to automatically... I know that both Dropbox and the cloud tries to automatically upload every picture I shoot with my iPhone, but it's probably more the computer because the iPhone doesn't use up minutes or gigabytes or megabytes. But the laptop, if it's online through the phone, where? Verizon Wireless said they have no idea. Where could it have used 2 gigs in 3 days, 1 gig in 3 days when I've hardly used it? Is it automatically updating and syncing?
Who knows?
I mean, or photos or what?
Yeah, who knows? Email. 2 gigs is a lot to use in a couple of days, or a gig. It's not a lot in general, but it does seem like a lot to use in a day or two. Of course, everything's gotten fatter. I don't know, Mark. Let me think. If there's a way that you could measure bandwidth consumption by app, wouldn't that be great? Nowadays, with these caps, I mean, a 2 gig cap a month is tiny. Probably not enough if you're going to be using it for tethering, for hotspotting. But even then, you shouldn't be going through a whole gig in a day or two.
No, I'm purposely using it as little as I need to, unless it's some setting, where I know that with cloud.
You don't have iCloud backup turned on, do you?
I hope not. This is the kind of thing I need to know to turn off.
Check that. Go into your settings.
I don't have carbonate on the MacBook Air. I just don't have enough in it to bother.
Right. Check your settings on your iPhone and check the iCloud settings. Now, if you have a 8 or 16 or 32 gig iPhone and you've got iCloud backup turned on, well, just think about it.
Well, the phone itself has true unlimited. It's not the phone. It's the hotspot limit.
I see. So they're saying that you used a gigabyte on hotspotting only.
Yeah. And that's why, unless I have the computer set automatically,
and this you didn't
to pull down every photo and every.
You didn't experience this Just when you were walking.
Previously.
What I would look at is your usage on the phone alone before you did the hotspotting.
Okay.
And make sure that they're not somehow counting phone usage.
They don't. I asked them. I have true unlimited.
You know what? Okay, that's what they say. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure. And you're sure that nobody else is using the hotspot, right?
Nobody knows my passwords. Okay. I have lots of passwords. I change them a lot, and they're words I made up.
Mac or PC, Mark?
Oh, MacBook Air.
Let's see if we can figure out who's using the bandwidth. Somebody's saying Little Snitch. Now, Little Snitch is a nice program. Everybody who uses a Mac probably should at least look at Little Snitch. It's a security program with a very simple task. It monitors outbound traffic. So it's not a firewall. It's not an antivirus. It just says, hey, somebody's using the connection. You might try putting Little Snitch on. It's Mac only. And every time something tries to connect to the internet, Little Snitch will say, hey, whoa! This is why I don't use it, by the way. Whoa! Somebody's trying to connect the internet. Now, you could set it, eventually, you can set it up so that as you use it, you say, no, always let iTunes and always let the email and so forth. But I would say this is probably a good idea for you, Mark. Put Little Snitch from Objective Development. Just Google Little Snitch. It's the first thing that'll come up on your Air. And just take a look at what is accessing the internet. This is a great security program. In fact, remember the flashback Trojan that it was on at one point, I think 600,000 Macs last month worldwide? The flashback Trojan knew about Little Snitch. When it tried to install itself, if it saw Little Snitch, it said it would back off. It would uninstall itself. So I go, no. Because it didn't want anybody to know that what it was doing. So I would try that. There must be other ways as well to monitor traffic. What I'd love, wouldn't this be nice? And I'm sure there is such a thing. Maybe somebody in the chat room will tell me. A program that just runs in the background and just kind of monitors all the internet access and logs it. Does NetStat log? Can you turn on logging in the NetStat? Here we go. Thank you, SQ Freak in the chat room. The chat room to the rescue once again has a list of programs on the Mac that will monitor bandwidth usage. Surplus Meter. We'll put this in the show notes. iStat Menus. I use that. I like it. Activity Monitor, which comes with the Mac, has a network tab at the bottom, which will show some statistics about your connection. But it only shows data since you last booted the machine. But still, that could be a way to track back in the past, Mark. Look at that. Activity Monitor. It's in your Utilities folder, in the Applications folder. And finally, a $10 program that probably does everything you want called Net Monitor will let you visualize network traffic, log your network activity, which you want, create history reports, and this is the key, calculate traffic over time. So for $10, if you want to know exactly what's doing it, there's a program, Net Monitor. Thank you, chat room. Perfect solution, SQ Freak. Hey, before we go on to our next, thank you, Mark. Next call, which is Debbie in Rancho Cucamonga, who says Firefox just won't talk to me. It just stops. Why? Debbie's in Rancho Cucamonga. Hi, Debbie. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. I've only tried to get on your show for about a year now.
It's hard, I know. I apologize. But I'm glad you got in.
Me too.
Has Firefox been driving you crazy for a year?
Longer.
Oh, no.
Now, I have to qualify this. I'm using an old machine. I only have 512K RAM.
Oh,
I know I need to remedy that.
Wow.
But I'm wondering...
Wait a minute. No, you have 512 megabytes of RAM. You don't have 512 kilobytes of RAM.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh, gosh, you scared me.
Yeah. No, I don't
even half a gigabyte is not much. Most machines now start at 2 gigabytes and up. What version of Windows are you running?
XP.
Okay. 512 megabytes on XP is not a lot. Do you find other programs are slow?
No, I have 512.
Yeah, that's horrible. Not enough. Hold on, Debbie. We got to take a break. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, a good day to you, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, cell phones, camcorders, MP3 players, home theater. Oh, I forgot. I should have crossed all those off. Anything with a chip in it, this is what we talk about here on the show. Debbie has been very patient, holding on from Rancho Cucamonga. So let's get this clear. You have a computer, first of all, running Windows XP with 512 megabytes of RAM. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So what I was saying before we had to break, why is the music back? Hello? Kyle, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Kyle just decided to play music for them. So that's a very low amount.
Yes.
Like really low. Like I think the requirement for Windows 7 is 2 gigabytes, 4 times more. And I wouldn't recommend buying a computer with less than 4 gigabytes, 8 times more today. And certainly Firefox, the current version, really likes RAM. Now, they fixed that a little bit, but Firefox had a notorious problem of leaking RAM. And if you left Firefox open, it would eat up all the memory on your computer. So I'm not surprised that Firefox has been misbehaving on 512 megabytes. That's really tiny.
Well, I finally just bit the bullet and upgraded to 12 just a few days ago.
12 gigabytes? Firefox 12. Good. I bet that's better. Is it better for you?
No, it's worse.
Yeah.
I had been on, what was it, 3.26?
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't laugh.
Okay. I should qualify this that I'm a dinosaur, okay? I go back to the days when the first IBM compatibles came out, and I was selling them. But
so
things have changed.
You are at the minimum. I'm looking at the system requirements for Firefox, and indeed, it should run on a Pentium 4 with 512 megabytes of RAM.
So they say, and I had a discussion I sent after hunting forever and ever through their, what they call their knowledge base, where you can search for questions and answers, which is a total waste of time. I sent an email to someone on their support, and he actually answered me back and kept saying it should be fine, blah blah blah. It isn't. It just isn't. Yeah, no, I'm not surprised. What do you do on the computer, Debbie? What kinds of things do you like to do? Well, I'm obviously doing web research, like some real estate sites.
You surf the internet, okay?
Sites.
You do email? Probably, right?
I haven't lately.
Okay.
I need to change
Good, it's
my
bad
email.
For you. We know it's bad for you. So mostly it's just surfing around?
Yeah, research and certain, specific items, but yeah.
And that's it?
Yeah.
All right.
It takes minutes, literally minutes, to load a page.
Well, here's the problem. That computer is almost 10 years old, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
When a computer is 10 years old, if you did exactly the same things you did 10 years ago with it, it should be fine. But you're not. You're doing stuff that is more modern, and the computer is, frankly, a little old. You could try another browser, which is free, called Opera. That's the only browser that's more lightweight. Any modern browser is going to need more than 512 megs of RAM. And even when they say in Firefox's system requirements 512 megs of RAM, that means it'll run. It doesn't mean it'll run well.
Barely.
Yeah, barely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if that's the short answer, I had intended to upgrade. I've been intending to for quite a while, so I will just do that, and then we'll see.
Well, you could try Opera. You mean upgrade the RAM?
Yeah, upgrade the RAM.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to go to 2 gigabytes, and you probably could do that pretty cheaply nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah, because a new computer just isn't in the crystal ball at the moment.
Yeah, I understand. You're not running any extensions in Firefox, are you?
Just a couple.
Okay, well, that's another problem.
Like no script.
Oh, no script. Good for you. You're a smarty pants. Good for you.
I try.
I like that, Debbie. That's, of course, the security program that Steve Gibson recommends, of course, that stops scripts from running on things. And that actually might help, but extensions do use more RAM. So if you're running Firefox 12 at the minimum of its requirements, you probably can't reasonably run extensions too. Each of them takes more memory.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, yeah, more RAM for sure. You might try Opera, which is a lighter weight browser, but I think if you're thinking more RAM, it's not going to cost you more than $50. You know, bring it to the shop. Somebody's going to install it for you. It's pretty easy to do. If you feel pretty technically competent, you could do it yourself.
I used to be technically competent. Now I'm not so sure.
Oh, do it yourself then. So here's what you do. You go to Crucial, CRUCIAL.com, and you can enter in there the model and make a computer and all of that. And they'll sell you the RAM, because you have to buy the right RAM, and it's going to be old RAM.
No, I understand.
I hope you can still get it, but Crucial's pretty good for that. So, and then that comes in a box and sticks. You open up is it a laptop or desktop?
Desktop.
You just open up the case. You power it down, of course, unplug it. Open up the case. Make sure you've discharged any static by just touching a cold water pipe. You got one of those. And then
sure.
If it's plastic, that won't help. A metal cold water pipe. And then you can probably take it. The RAM comes in sticks. Even in this age, this old computer, it'll come in a stick that you pop out, and you can put in two. You probably get one or two new ones and pop those in.
Right. Right.
Should be pretty easy. Yeah.
Now, the quick question, since this is another burning question.
Okay.
Is there a chance that my IP address has been connected to my email because I have an MSN paid account?
Yes, it absolutely is connected if you're using web-based mail.
Yeah.
Because that's your unique identifier. So every time you go to MSN to read your mail, you're sending that information to MSN. Now, are you asking, can somebody who sends you email find out what your IP address is?
Email. I get junk email in my MSN, and it's on topics like something I've been looking at.
Well, that's interesting. That's probably Microsoft doing that. All free-based webmail. Whether they
this is a paid account.
But it doesn't matter. Read the terms of service and see if they say they may. Well, Microsoft should not be selling your search results to spammers. So no, that's not right. So you're saying you get email that is targeted at you, spam email.
Spam mail.
And it's stuff that's unusual that you're searching for.
Correct.
Boy, that's interesting. There may be some tracking cookies on your system that might do it. So here's how that would work. You go to a website that has an ad from a company, let's say evilmarketers.com, and that ad pops up. Now, when it does, evilmarketers.com gets your internet address. They don't get your email address. However, perhaps on that site, you entered your email address. Maybe it was a newsletter or something you wanted. If that site then gives to evilmarketers.com your email address, Evil Marketers can tie it to your IP address. And then if you go to other websites with evilmarketers.com ads on it, they will say, oh, there's Debbie. She must be interested in, I don't know, gnomes, garden gnomes. Let's send her an email on garden gnomes. But you see what? In order to do this, they have to do several things. First, they have to get an email address for you. That's not easy. But they'd have to share. Some website would have to share it with them, or you would have to volunteer it to one of their.
It's an account I've had for 12 years. So
yeah. Once you I've had the same email for many years, and once you do that, you're on every mailing list anyway. Truth is, Debbie, you're probably getting spam for everything, not just stuff you're interested in. Spam is if I were you, get a Gmail account. It's free from Google, and they have very good spam filtering. gmail.com. I feel like going to a football game. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I was just looking, we were talking to Debbie last call from Rancho Cucamonga, who has not enough RAM in her machine, and Firefox won't run very well. What a surprise. She's got 512 megabytes. It's so funny. I remember very well going to a computer store and overhearing a conversation where somebody had the recommendation. This is the ultimate geek at this computer store. You really ought to have 8 megabytes of RAM. 8 megabytes. Now, this is in the day and age when 640K was a lot. And I was like, oh, 8 megabytes. Wow. And he said, here's what I would do. 2 megabytes for the operating system. 2 megabytes for a flash. Remember flash drive or RAM drive? 2 megabyte flat RAM drive. 2 megabyte cache. I can't remember what the other 2 was for. We come a long way, baby. 8 megabytes of RAM. I can't even fit a picture. When I take a picture with my Canon camera, it's 21 megabytes. If I had 8 megabytes of RAM, I wouldn't even be able to show that picture on the screen. So, so I want you to understand that I am not mocking somebody who has 512 megabytes. There was a time when that was a whole lot of RAM. But now, seriously, any computer you buy, you probably will expect at least 2 gigabytes, and more reasonably 4 or more gigabytes. Now, there's a point of diminishing returns. There's no reason to have 32 gigabytes of RAM unless you're very specialized, or even, frankly, 8 gigabytes unless you're doing something very specialized. 4 is kind of the sweet spot for both Macintosh and Windows. 4 gigs is plenty, I think. I'm not going to say it always will be. It is for right now. I did look on the Crucial site as I had recommended to her, and I realized when I looked up an old E-machine. You know, these were the inexpensive computers that were widely sold running Windows XP about that time. And it said maximum 512 megs of RAM. So, Debbie, one issue you may run up against is your machine may be so old you cannot put more RAM in. That's why you want to go somewhere like Crucial.com or Kingston.com where they have a system RAM picker that you can actually find out what that system's capable of, what kind of RAM it needs, and in this case, pretty importantly, what the maximum amount is. Because if you can only handle 512 megs, doesn't matter what you do, you're going to need a new system. That's, you may come down to that. You certainly should consider at this point, if money is an issue, and it sounds like it is, I would not hesitate if all you're doing is surfing, maybe a little email, looking at a tablet. A Kindle Fire's $200. There are other Android tablets in the same price range. I think the Mac is the best. The iPad, rather, the Apple iPad is the best. But it is $500. But that may be more than adequate. And $500 might get you, something that you can use for years. So that might be this. That might be the solution. Chris on the line from Hayward, California. Our next caller. Hi, Chris. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo.
Hi.
Kind of a horror story, but it has a happy ending. Number 1, my website was hacked. Number 2, I restored it, but then Google blacklisted me.
Yeah. Believe me, I'm with you. The same exact thing has happened to me on my website. Go ahead.
And then number 3, I used every antivirus checker on my website, and nobody found
antivirus checker on your website.
Well, I downloaded I downloaded my site locally and I scanned it.
That's not going to do a thing. That's not what those are for. Those are not for checking websites. Those are different exploits than you would find on a desktop.
Okay.
So that's not going to solve your problem. Let me refer you. There's a really interesting article I just read in Wired magazine, their threat level blog. Everyone has been hacked. Now what? And they talk about the Oak Ridge National Laboratory, which is a big nuke lab, a weapons research lab that was targeted last year by a hacker, and the hacker penetrated it. What we're finding is the bad guys are very effective. And one of the most common ways that they get into computers, this was what we call a spear phishing attack, the Oak Ridge attack, which was the hacker targeted emails at Oak Ridge employees with malware in the email attachment or a link, I'm not sure which, or a link to a website. The way hackers work now, almost always, the first job is to find websites where there's a security flaw. And guess what? That's almost everybody. For instance, this should send chills. You use PHP? This should send chills down your back. There is a PHP flaw that's been around since, I think, 2004 and is well known to the bad guys, and they're just now patching that PHP flaw. There's a Flash flaw in the Adobe Flash player that has been fixed 1,000 times, it feels like, in the last couple of years. There's yet another problem with it, and Adobe's pushing it. There are flaws in everything. The flaw in PHP was accidentally published to the internet. Researchers discovered it. Somebody published the internal document, and it was posted to Reddit. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. That means every hacker knows about it. Now, they've pushed out a fix, but how many times? When did you update your PHP last?
I think, isn't my hosting company supposed to?
No. Guess what? No. And I almost can guarantee you you're not running even a current version of PHP.
Yeah, I want to say it's 4.x something.
Yeah, I can almost guarantee you you're running a very old version because nobody updates that for you. You know. So basically, all websites can be hacked. So what do the bad guys do? Well, they have code. They don't even do this by hand. They run a program on their computer. You could do it on a cheap PC overnight that just goes to website after website after website, crawls the web looking for these flaws. And they have little tests that say, does this work? And then when they get up the next morning, Boris the hacker looks at list that was printed by computer. It says, oh, I have found 3,724 websites that you can hack right now. So Boris, by the way, who does not have to be a sophisticated hacker because he's purchased all of these tools or found them online for free, he didn't write them. He didn't need to. So Boris says, I have 3,000 websites. He takes that list, pumps it into another program, which he purchased, that goes to those websites and embeds malicious code on each and every one of them. Now, these could be websites, well-known, websites like, let's say, mine. Now that code is on those websites, and everybody who visits that website will be attacked by the code invisibly that is on the website and try to inject a different virus. This is the virus your Windows antivirus is searching for onto your system. And this is a very effective tool. Now, what's happened, and this is what or how you found out about it, Chris, is Google, Firefox, Microsoft, all the major browser manufacturers, Apple, have now started running scans for well-known website viruses. That's different from desktop viruses. And that's why you got that malware alert from Google. When you go to your page, Google, anybody goes to your page, Google says, whoa, hold on there. There's malware on this site. Let's finish this up in a bit. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hey, who sent this, Eileen? This is, thank you. This is Kentucky Derby, 138th Kentucky Derby T-shirt from Churchill Downs. Of course, yesterday was the 138th running of the classic horse race, and even a mint julep glass. Now, that's nice. Featuring every winner of the Derby right up to 2011, because there's a question mark next to 2012, but we know now. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Thank you, whoever you are. 8888 Ask Leo is the number. So we were talking about hacking, website hacking. Ay, ay, ay. The more you look into them, the more you realize that the bad guys won, and they won a long time ago. And here's why. It is virtually impossible to write error-free software. It's impossible. Let's just say impossible. No one's done it yet. Or if they have, we don't know about it. And certainly, the software that we run every single day, whether it's on the web, on websites, or on our desktops, is loaded. It's holier than Swiss cheese. It is loaded with flaws, exploits, and bugs. And as people discover them, they take advantage of them. I was just reading an article that said there's a flaw in OS X Lion that allows you to execute a simple command that lets you change the password of anybody on the machine, even the system administrator, without logging in as a system administrator. So you could sit down at any OS X Lion, and this is the latest version of Apple's operating system, any OS X Lion machine, you could sit down at it and easily change the password of any user. All you need to know is the user's name, and that's easy to find. That's a little bit of a problem. Now, somebody needs physical access to your machine, but what if there's what if you leave your Mac? You certainly should not at this point leave your Mac lying around anywhere. That's for sure. Wow. And then this hole in PHP that we were talking about. Now, what is PHP? It's a programming language used to write websites. Almost every website is written in PHP. This has become ubiquitous. And it's kind of a shame because, the reason it's become popular, it's very easy to use. PHP stands for Personal Homepage. It was written by a guy named Rasmus Leerdorf. I've interviewed him many times. Interesting guy. Neat story. I mean, he basically wrote it for himself without any regard to security. He was just all he wanted to do was create a programming language that would let him write his personal homepage. Get it? Personal homepage. Unfortunately, it became very, 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 very popular. And it is everything that in the world is running on it. My website is running on it. Tons of websites. The whitehouse.gov is running on PHP. And it turns out, not only is there a major flaw in it that allows bad guys to run their code on it, on any site that's running PHP, but the fix that the PHP group pushed out this week didn't work. And they did the same thing in January, and they patched another hole. They pushed out a fix that added a bug. It's very hard to do this properly. Very hard. So the bad guys go around. Boris the hacker goes around and he searches, he scans the internet, scans websites looking for vulnerabilities, finds them, puts code on these websites that will then attack a machine. Now, meanwhile, the good guys, Google and Microsoft, are always scanning the web for the Bing search engine, for the Google search engine. They're always scanning the web. And one of the things they scan for is code on the website that's malicious, bad code, because it shows up. If you're scanning a website, you see it. So let's say that the Cake and Cookie Company, our local baker at cakeandcookiecompany.com, was hacked. The bad stuff was on there. Google, when it's scanning the net for search purposes, sees that. Now when I go to cakeandcookie.com, I get a Google alert saying, warning, this site contains malware. You've all seen it. And now if you see it, you should heed it and you should back off because you could get bit. Now, most of the time, if you've been doing what I've been telling you to do to protect yourself, you're going to be okay. If you continually patch Windows to make sure it's secure, you patch Flash every 5 or 6 minutes, you're probably okay. Yes, Flash is a big problem. As I said, there's another hole in Flash just patched this week, Friday. But as long as you're keeping your system safe, you're running the firewall, you're running the antivirus, you're probably not going to get bit. The truth is, though, most people aren't. At least 1 in 4 computers is not running any security at all, period. So those computers now have malware on them, and they go out and they're being used to attack other systems, to send spam and things like that. It's all about money. I mean, it used to be in the early days when we got a virus, it was malicious or it was vandalism. It was kids. It was pranking. It'd say, ha, rest your hard drive, that kind of thing. Hackers are not doing that anymore. No, they want to get on your system and keep you running it because they want to use your system to make money, either to sell that system to somebody else so they can use it or use it themselves to make money. It's all about making money nowadays, as we have learned time and time again. So it's just very difficult. If your system shows up with malware on it, you can't do what our caller did and download the code and run an antivirus against it because it's not that kind of code. It's a modification to the scripts on your system, to the PHP on your system, to add a little extra something, so that when somebody visits your system, it does some stuff. And the only way to get rid of it is to be a competent security expert, to go through the code, to go through the logs, to look for what has been changed, what has been modified, to find it. And it's not easy to find. In fact, I'll give you an example. Our site's been hacked all the time. Whenever you're a public site, you get hacked all the time. The TWiT.tv site, at least 3 times in the last 6 months, has had this malware warning. We have a great security guy, one of the best. He actually works for Firefox. He works for Mozilla. He's one of their sysadmins. And he volunteers. He helps us out. He's a great guy. He goes in and he fixes it. And he's very good at finding this stuff and removing it. And the Google, by the way, what will happen then is Google, sometimes it takes as long as 24 hours, but Google will clear that malware warning and you'll be able to surf to the site fine. Well, we thought we cleared it because it turns out there were 1 or 2 pages, just an individual page, an obscure individual page, because there's thousands of pages on our website that still had a bug on it. And somebody sent me a note saying, if you go to your podcast from last year, that page has a bug on it. That's how hard it is to find this stuff. It is virtually impossible to secure a system. I don't know what to say. That's the facts, Jack. So, Chris, your first job now is to find out where this code is and eliminate it, because Google will continue to give you a malware warning until you do.
I did find it.
Oh, hallelujah.
I did find it.
How did you find it?
I'm trying to, hopefully, I had to, but like I said, I downloaded all of the files and I went through line, page by page. And the thing is, Google has these these virus online checkers. They can check your website and all the online ones didn't find it on my server. So, long story short.
That's because, by the way, this code is constantly evolving and changing. Bad guys aren't just sitting still. They don't just write something and say, let's use this for the next 20 years. Every day they change this stuff.
So first of all, I was surprised at how much at mercy I am at. We all are at Google. If they blacklist your site, it's like
you're dead. You don't exist, do you? Hold on, Chris. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Bugs in my shoes.
Oh, we're full of bugs, aren't we?
Bugs in the way.
It's just the way it is in the world of software. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo's the number. The website, techguylabs.com. I started the show, and I keep meaning to talk about it, and I haven't yet. The new Galaxy S3. I'll give you a little pitch for this in just a bit. It's nice. I'm a Galaxy Note user, but the S3 is a pretty nice 4.8-inch screen, big screen, good-looking, very fast, quad-core processor. I personally don't think you need multi-core processors in phones. All the Windows phones have single-core processors, and they are plenty fast. People aren't really multitasking on smartphones these days. But, everybody wants the fastest, right? So they keep making them faster. Anyway, I apologize, Chris, for putting you back on hold one more time, but you know how it is. I just like to talk. So you were able to run Google's malware scanner for websites, and it detected the malware. And
Google blacklisted me, but they couldn't detect it and tell me what it was, what the problem was.
Yeah. That's not unusual. But you were able to find it. You did it by doing it by hand, or you did it with the help of a scanner?
By hand.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can see where the code is if you go through your code.
Yeah. What it turned out to be was there was a system file called .htaccess. And what the guy did was change any redirect like 404 pages to a Russian website, something .ru, which is what actually Google picked up on, was the .ru, and they said, "Oh, you're a bad guy because you're redirecting traffic to this website."
Right. So htaccess should not be writable. Every Unix and Linux system has a .htaccess. That's something that, or rather, any Apache system does. That's something that the Apache web server uses to determine who can access that file. The fact that it could be written to on your system was a flaw to begin with. So the guy got in. He changes htaccess. Why did he send people to a Russian website? I can tell you why. Because the Russian website had malware on it. So the bottom line is, I'm impressed, Chris, that you were able to not only scan through all your PHP files, but then find the problem in htaccess. But there may be still a problem on your site, because my question is, what did they do to be able to access that file? That's a hidden file. It shouldn't be accessible to the outside world. So my guess is there's other code on your system that gives them the chance to modify that htaccess file. It shouldn't happen. It's a mess. It's a mess. Oh, my goodness. Should I? Let's go to Francis in Pittsburgh, our next call. Hi, Francis. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Not too bad. I called you about a year ago, Leo. I think it was episode 782.
You know the number.
Yes, I do.
It was 90 episodes ago.
It changed my life.
Oh, wow. What did I tell you?
No, you told me, you and the chat room told me that I needed to build an audience, first of all, for my tech cartoon. I went to Facebook and Twitter. I have 1,600 fans on Facebook.
Yeah.
And then the chat room also said that some of the cartoons, I need to work on them and make them funny. I went back to the drawing board and I redrew almost everything.
Wow.
And
sometimes getting feedback, if you're a creative, whether you're a photographer, painter, writer, cartoonist, is painful. But, you got to listen to the audience, and that's why building a community is so valuable, because they will give you feedback. I listen to the chat room all the time.
Yeah, I think it worked for me totally.
Good. So,
last month, I published a compilation of my cartoons on Amazon. It's called Wish Your Mouth Had a Backspace Key.
See, I like that. That's funny.
Yeah, and it's been doing pretty well, Leo. I mean, it's like at least 2 or 3 books a day.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's great. Congratulations, Francis. That's great. It's on Amazon.com. Wish Your Mouth Had a Backspace Key. And what is the website so people can read it online, too?
Yeah, it's geek-2-me.com.
Geek-2.me.
Yeah, -me.com. And it gets even better, Leo. Last week, I got a call from the Pittsburgh Technology Council. So they're going to feature my cartoon as a regular feature in their magazine starting this month.
Francis, I'm so happy for you. You're living the dream, baby.
Thank you, Leo.
That is so exciting. Geek-2-me.com. It's the number 2. And the book is online. Wish Your Mouth Had a Backspace. I like
backspace key.
I like that. Hey, congratulations, Francis. I'm really glad to hear that. Is this something you wanted to do all along?
Yeah, I've been working on this on the side, in addition to my full-time day job. And I'm really glad that, first of all, talking to you in June last year and taking those pieces of advice seriously and working on them.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes it's hard to hear, but I think it's great that you this is something you wanted to do so badly that you pursued it. What's your day job?
Oh, I work in an ad agency. I'm a creative director. I do ads.
That's great. See, I think this is I really this is what excites me about digital technology and the internet. In the old days, well, you would have probably done all these cartoons and you would have shopped it around to publishers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it is a slower process. It's not as an effective as a process. You don't get as much of the revenue either because you give up a lot of it to the publisher. You don't get as wide an audience. But here it is on the internet. You publish a website. You can sell a book on Amazon. Are you self-publishing on Amazon?
Yes, through CreateSpace.
So that's their CreateSpace is a wonderful site, createspace.com. It's Amazon's kind of ebook creation store. And how much? Just let me, if you don't mind, you charge $12.99 on Amazon, and you get to set how the price, right?
Yes.
And how much of the proceeds do you get?
I get about 55%. Yeah, more than half.
More than half. So let me tell you, the normal royalty rate for a book author, I know because I've written 13, at best, if you're really lucky and you're really good and you're a big name, you might get 15% of half the cover price because the publisher only gets half the cover price. The bookstore gets the other half. And the publisher gives you a percentage on their royalty. So at best, you're getting 7.5% instead of 55%. And in most cases, it's more like 5%. So, Francis, well done. I'm proud of you. Wish Your Mouth Had a Backspace Key. It's on Amazon. I think there's a guy living his dream. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, hey, how are you? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. And this is the show where we talk about computers, the internet. We talk about cell phones a lot, home theater, digital photography, and all that jazz. And if you want to talk about with me, you just give me a ring now. 8888 Ask Leo is the number. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. of A. That's 888-827-5536. You can find us on the web at techguylabs.com. Enjoy that site. That's going to... Yeah, I know. It looks like, and it was designed in like 2001, but it's going away and going to be replaced by a slick, modern, fancy site. We've got a great company called Lullabot. They do great web design and coding. They've done MTV Europe. They did Martha Stewart. They did what else? Lots of great sites. Really good designers. The Grammys. And so they're going to create a high-traffic, high-powered website to replace this silly old site that I've been using for years. But meanwhile, the site's there and the content's there, and that's all that really matters. All 821 shows, all the show notes, the audio, the link to the chat room to watch live, the forums, the advertisers, all of that stuff at techguylabs.com. Species8470 in the chat room says, how long has Leo been talking about redesigning the site? 2 years? Absolutely. At least. I wanted to redesign this for a long time. But as I found out, it's kind of expensive. I think we're going to be spending $70,000, $80,000 on the site redesign. I know. That's dollars. Oh, boy. But you get what you pay for, I guess, in web design. And I'm hoping that it will pay for itself in satisfaction and happiness. Joe in Florida, our next caller. Hey, Joe, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks, Joe.
My son's graduating from high school, and he wants headphones for graduation present.
Hey, yeah, the kids today, they love those headphones.
Well, he's looking at the Beats by Dr. Dre. He likes the over the ear kind, but he also wants to get a pair of the in the ear. So, do you know of anything that's just as good, maybe not quite so expensive?
Beats are good. They're actually not great.
Okay.
He likes them because it's Dr. Dre.
That is actually right.
And they're hip looking, and so it's a triumph more of marketing than technology. I would suggest a company called Headroom. They're at headphone.com. Headphone.com. And this is a company that just sells headphones. I've bought many a headphone from them. And you can trust their reviews. So you can find headphones there in every price range. You know, the top of the line, state-of-the-art, best headphones made, the Grados, which will run you several $1,000s. I know you're not going to buy those.
No.
But they do have Grado also makes some $100 and $150 less expensive ones that are classics. They're very good. I wear a very comfortable headphone that your son probably is not going to want to. By the way, I have a 17-year-old, so I know a little bit about this. That your son is not going to want. But I love, these are the AKG K240s. They're worn by studio musicians everywhere because they're just really good quality, very comfortable. But Shure makes some very good, inexpensive headphones under $100. Skull Candy is a little hipper, a little more with it. Yep. You probably heard all of these brand names. Sennheiser's also very famous.
Sure.
So I would go to headphone.com. One couple of things I'd consider, and your son may not have even thought about this, is a headphone amp. They sell amps as well. And I think headphone amps can really enhance the sound. Now, if he wants them for his iPod, obviously portability is more important, and he's not going to carry an amp around. But if it's for home listening, I think it's going to
be both. I think it's going to be in the ear for going around with his iPhone, and over the ear for his MacBook.
I use Etymotic in-ear headphones. These are called IEMs, or in-ear monitors, because they sink deep into your ear. Not a great idea if you're a runner, a jogger, a bicyclist, because you can't hear anything, including oncoming traffic. But great. I prefer them, in fact, to noise-canceling headphones for air travel and things like that. They're very good sound quality, but they're also pricey. And this is one of the things you're learning, is that good headphones cost some money. They're not inexpensive. I think the best thing to do is go and browse around headphone.com, read the reviews. You can call them. They're very helpful. They even have a selection guide on air. I don't have any affiliation with them. They're not an advertiser. I don't make any money off of it, but I have to say I've been buying headphones from these guys for years. And as somebody in radio, I use headphones every single day.
Okay.
But, yeah, I don't think, to be honest, your kid wants the Beats because they're hip. I don't think
I tried them on. They actually sound pretty good.
They have good. They have a good tight bass.
I can't imagine they're the best.
They're not the best. The reason that they're designed for hip hop, so they have a great tight bass. But I don't think overall their response is particularly accurate.
Uh-huh.
So,
but that's why I called you.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that they'll tell you at headphone.com. They'll even show you. They have graphs that show you response. See, your son, you should ask him what kind of music he wants to listen to. That's part of it, right?
Hip hop.
Well, if he listens to hip hop, then I understand why he wants the Beats. They have that. I don't particularly like that sound, and certainly if you're not listening to hip hop, it's not a great sound.
No, we're contemporary. The bass doesn't do anything for me either.
Yeah.
It's not important.
Yeah. It's but you got to give the kids what they want, because he won't wear it otherwise. So I'd look around, but I think there are some very good choices under $100. But you should be aware that if you're looking for accurate headphones, that you're talking over $200 for headphones that give you a good quality sound. Now, what's interesting about that is good quality speakers cost 3 or 4 times that. So headphones are, relatively speaking, a bargain. One of the reasons I recommend headphone amps is not to make them louder or give them more juice, but because the headphone amps sold at Headroom do something interesting. They do some sort of phasing thing. One of the drawbacks to listening on headphones compared to, say, listening to a stereo system is that it's very left-right, right? Because you've got a speaker right on one ear and a speaker right on the other ear. These headphone amps do some phasing to move the soundstage out beyond the headphones so that you have a more natural sound, not so left-right focused. And I actually think that's a worthwhile investment, but again, not portable in the least. 8888 Ask Leo, that's the phone number. Thanks for the call, Joe. I appreciate it. Always glad to spend people's money. Congratulations to your son. Gosh, I hope my son graduates. Oh, boy. Mark, Los Angeles, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Leo. I've got a question about iPhone.
All right.
I see that iPhone has some apps for making time-lapse movies.
Yeah.
And I would like to get one, but what I don't need or want is the phone bill that goes with it monthly. So can someone buy an iPhone and pay that full price and still have it work except for the phone and text messaging part?
Well, you could buy an iPod Touch, which is basically an iPhone minus the phone.
But isn't the camera different in that?
Terrible camera.
Yeah, and I want it for a camera.
You could buy an iPad. An iPad has basically the same camera as the iPhone 4.
Oh, okay.
And I really like the iPad camera. And there's a really good stuff. Now, there's two. I use a program called TimeLapse for the iPhone that does a great job. TimeLapse Camera HD. It does a great job. You put it on the phone. You set how many frames per second that you want to do. Anything from half a second a frame to more. And then you just press go, and it will continue to record right to the iPhone. But iStop Motion is a great program, too. That's from Boinx, B-O-I-N-X software. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Not playing make-believe nobody can see. Then he wakes, then he fakes, then he bends, and then he shakes.
Is that for the supermoon? Wasn't that something? Wasn't that something last night? Leo Laporte, the tech guy. The moon was at perigee and syzygy, so there, last night. Now I don't really didn't look. What was it supposed to be? 30% bigger and 15% brighter, or was it the other way around? I don't know if that's true. Did it really look that way? Didn't seem like it. But it was cool. It was bright. 30% brighter, 14% bigger. Maybe that was right. It did seem brighter. But I don't know. How can you tell? 8888 Ask Leo. Jim, Huntington Beach, California. You're next. Listening to the mothership, the great KFI in L.A. Hey, Jim.
Yes. Hi, Leo. I've got a monitor that I've had for a couple of years, and it's a very nice one, but it's 17 inches diagonally and 14 inches high. It's a nice rectangle, but it takes 6 minutes now to turn on after I turn the computer on.
Wow.
It was a couple of minutes, and now it's 4 minutes, and now it's 6 minutes.
I'm thinking that's a CRT, right? One of those big glass screen monitors, not an LCD.
Well, that's a good question.
Is it deep? Is it really deep, or is it flat?
It's flat.
Really? So it's an LCD?
Yeah, and it says AMU on the or AMW on the front of it.
Yeah. Well, that's a pretty small display these days. 17 inches used to be big, but now you can get displays 24 inches is kind of the default these days.
I think I'd like that.
Yeah, they're also widescreen now, which means if you're watching a movie, that you don't have as much of the black bars on either side.
Yeah, I lose a little copy too on the ends with this screen.
I think it has to be a CRT. That's the only reason I could think of that it would take so long to warm up. An LCD should be on almost instantly.
Well, it never was that way before. I just turned the computer on the monitor.
Well, it's old. It's wearing out.
Okay.
So, time for a new monitor. Do you mind getting a new monitor?
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to give you an excuse.
I love the excuse.
And now, what kind of computer are you running on?
I'm running on a Hewlett Packard.
HP. All right. Now, I'm not sure I'd want to spend a whole lot of money on a monitor for this, but Dell sells 24-inch widescreen monitors fairly cheaply. I think their least expensive is $250.
Okay.
And it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be big, and you're going to be amazed. And one of the things that I've learned, and I've seen studies that back this up, is that you're more productive with a bigger screen. Partly that's because you can get more on the screen. So you can have your email on one side and your web browser on the other side, and it just makes you more productive.
Well, I'll say I've published an 8-page all-color newsletter every month, and I need the
you need
to have
this.
it big enough to look at it.
Yeah, Jim, this would transform your life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
So get a Dell, the 24-inch. They're least expensive, which is actually very good. I'm looking at it right now. The ST2420L is $260.
Oh, well. Okay. Thanks for the help.
You're welcome. Yeah, once that monitor stops responding and takes 6 minutes to warm up, I think that's not in great shape. It's be cheaper just to get a new one. It could be, I don't know what it is. Must be a CRT, right? Wayne in Pittsburgh, you're next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Wayne.
Hi. I have a question. Right now, I have a copper landline. It's not cable, not even FiOS. But I make a lot of calls. I do, I call my bank's number. I keep my account numbers in. I order stuff, and I, do stuff over touch-tone telephone. Regarding bank account numbers. But I do see the ads for, Magic Jack, Net Talk, UMA. VoIP phone services there, and the thought appeals to me of just canceling the landline and going with the lower cost provider on that.
And you're getting internet service over that as well as DSL?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the issue. It's not going to be easy because the phone company doesn't like you to do that. That's called bare or dry DSL. And sometimes they won't. They're supposed to. They legally have to offer it, but they may make it very difficult for you because they want to sell you both internet access and phone service.
Yeah, but I mean, I can do it. My phone company's not not giving me a.
All right. So if they'll let you turn off the service but keep your DSL, you're right. Now here's the. I'll give you the pros and cons. Of course, it's a lot cheaper. I'm not crazy about Magic Jack. I think UMA might be a better choice. A lot of people just use Skype. If you've got a computer attached, Skype will work fine. If you don't want to use a computer, then Vonage or UMA or Magic Jack are nice because you don't have to have a computer. The disadvantage is there are several. First of all, it's reliant on your internet access. If your internet is not consistent, your voice quality will deteriorate. So that's problem number one. And the voice quality can be very good if you have high, you don't have to have super high speed, but you have to have at least, I would say, 384 up, 384 kilobits up. Anything more is better. And down is fine. Anything a megabit or more down is going to be fine. But it has to be consistently at least 384 up. If you have a DSL with 128 kilobits up, don't even consider this. It's not enough.
Yeah, mine. The one that's offered to me is 1 meg. So no,
1 megabit up or 1 megabit down. Don't confuse the two.
Well, 1 megabit, 1 megabit down. 1 megabit
down isn't what's important. It's up, right? Because you're calling. What's your upstream?
Yeah.
I bet you if you have a megabit down, your upstream's 128, which is insufficient.
Okay. Yeah, my major concern though is I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I have a valid concern, even a small one or unfounded. But as far as being able to make those calls, to my bank's automated,
it's all the same. It's just like a regular phone line. That's no different.
Yeah, that's my concern. Is it because if it's easier or harder to hack the calls and so forth.
No. It's the same as a regular phone call. In fact, the truth is most of the calls you're making these days are VoIP calls. Once it gets to the central office, they often are transmitted over data as opposed to voice lines. But so I'd say the negatives. First of all, you shouldn't do it because you don't have enough bandwidth. Period. Do not do this. So negative number one, you need enough bandwidth to make it an effective call. That means you need at least 384 kilobits up. Down is not as important because you always have more down than up, right? Internet access is generally asymmetric. Faster down than up. That comes from the day when people did more downloading than they do uploading. Now, of course, it makes no sense at all because of things like VoIP. But typically, if you only can get a megabit down on your DSL service, I'm sure you don't have more than 128K up, which means don't do it. Don't do it. But let's say you still want to do it. The other issue is the 911 issue. You don't have the same 911 as you do with a landline service. The third issue is when the power goes out or the internet goes out, so does your phone no matter what. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. A little tribute to MCA. I was watching, it's funny, I was watching Beastie Boys videos going back to the mid-'80s, and it seems so tame now. At the time, it seemed pretty, outrageous, right? And now it's like Pat Benatar. It's tame. It's all very tame. Oh, he will be missed. Very young, too. What, he's 44? That's so tragic. Had kids and everything. MCA. R.I.P., I guess, is all we can say. 47? Okay. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Hour number 3 of the Tech Guy Show. Let's see. Oh, I love this one. Let's go to David in Pomona, California. Hi, David. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy.
Hi, how are you?
I am well. How are you?
Good. Want to let you know that both my wife and I really enjoy listening to you every weekend.
Thank you.
And the problem I've got, occasionally I'll get a pop-up from Microsoft when I'm on something, and I can either send or not send the problem to Microsoft.
Yeah.
Do they respond to those or just file them away?
They will not call you, so don't expect a call. I actually mocked this whole idea because there's how many copies of Windows installed? 150 million, 200 million. Right. And so let's figure, and every time a program crashes, you get this pop-up that says, would you like to send that information to Microsoft? So I'm figuring, a billion? Is it a billion now? Okay, so I'm figuring they got a billion computers running Windows, and that pop-up on most computers comes up maybe once a day, right? That's a billion a day. What could they do with it? But I was told by somebody at Microsoft, no, we do pay attention. We use that telemetry. And in fact, in Windows 7, they've got a little feature that will actually come back to you sometimes days later and say, we found a fix. We found a solution for you. So it's okay to do that, yes. But
that leads me to the second part of my call.
Did you get a call from Microsoft?
Oh, well, they said they weren't from Microsoft, but they were working for Microsoft to resolve my problems. And they wanted me to type in the word event, VW.
Yeah, no, stop right there. This is a well-known scam.
Yeah.
What they do when you run that's the event viewer, and it shows all of the little bugs and crashes that happen, which happen all the time. And then they say, oh, you see, you have a problem on your computer, but I can fix it for you. And then what they do is either they charge you money, or they put malware on your system, or both.
Well, this is what I assumed, and you sounded exactly like the guy that called.
He said, hello, I am calling. I am not from Microsoft. You know what's interesting about these guys? These guys are often actual tech support people who have spare time, and the company, the third party that's offering this tech support out of India, actually says to these guys, okay, here's your script. Go call a few in between the actual real tech support. That's why these guys sound pretty credible. It is a total and utter scam. It's not real.
I after listening to the first guy, I told him that just wouldn't go in when I tried to type it. So he brought a supervisor over, and at that point, I said, I think you guys are just trying to get into my hard drive and get all my information, and they hung up immediately. But this is the second time in a couple months I've got the same kind of call.
Do me a favor, type in Microsoft, go YouTube in the Google, type in YouTube Microsoft scam, and you'll find videos of many of these calls.
They have been downloaded on your
Here's one.
computer. They are residing at your hard drive, and they are infecting the hard drive.
Right.
They're afraid to tell you, that is why they are...
This is a scam. These people are scammers. They're either trying to make money off of you by asking you for cash, or more likely, they're actually going to put malware on your system. If you want a little fun, go to YouTube. Many people have recorded these. It's just depressing, but it's not real. And I'm glad you called, David, because you were smart. You immediately, your instinct was exactly right. Wait a minute. Microsoft, it's okay to send those reports to Microsoft. Microsoft tells everybody, we do not call you. We will not call you. You do not expect a call. That's not how it works. And I want to say it over and over again. In fact, let me give you a blanket warning. If your computer pops up something that says, you have malware, for $29.95, we'll fix it. You have malware, click this button, we'll go online and download something. If somebody calls you at your home and says, you have malware, we can fix it, I'm from Microsoft, I'm here to help. Those are all scams, and in fact, they're very dangerous because what they'll end up doing is put malware on your system. Do not fall for this. We do not fall for this. But unfortunately, many do. Hello, K8EAU. It's Lewis in Holland, Ohio. Hi, Lewis.
Hello there, Leo. First-time caller, and we enjoy your program very much.
Thank you, sir. W6TWT here. What can I do for you?
So, now, I bought a Mac computer, and I was sorry that I didn't buy the second hard drive. I just had it about 6 months. And I use Windows 7 through Boot Camp and a partition on my hard drive. And what I want to do, and I want to do this myself, I want to install a second hard drive so when Windows 8 comes out or 7, whatever, I want another hard drive in there. So I've been looking at SATA hard drives, third party, and I don't know what Mac uses, but is it compatible?
Absolutely. Every hard drive is compatible. Now, here's the thing. Your late model Mac is a standard SATA connector, so any SATA hard drive will work fine. You'll reformat it because you're going to probably want to use the Macintosh file system, but you don't have to. My suggestion, though, you might want to think about, Louis, is instead of doing an internal, you may have room. If you have a Mac Pro, you got plenty of room. But instead of doing an internal, you might consider doing an external drive via USB, or if you've got a FireWire port, FireWire, or if you've got Thunderbolt, you could do Thunderbolt, although it's kind of pricey. The advantage of doing external is well, it's external. You can swap it. You can put another one in there. You can make it a bigger one, and it's very simple. You just plug it in. So if you got the room, I would get an external drive rather than an internal drive. But either way, external, you'll have to have an enclosure and all that, so they're a little more pricey. They're not as fast either. SATA's faster than USB. But I think you'll be all right. Now, my other advice, if you're going to get a SATA drive, make sure you get a full-size SATA, 3.5-inch. Don't get a laptop 2.5-inch drive. But Louis, any drive that you buy, Mac will, as long as it's a SATA drive, should work fine with a Mac. 7-3. Debbie in Calabasas, you're next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Debbie.
Hi, Leo. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure. Thanks for calling.
You're welcome. I have a Gateway computer since 2008, and it came with Windows Vista, but as soon as Windows 7 came out, I had my nephew update it, and it's been running Windows 7 ever since.
All right. Well, hang on, because we got to take a break. But now that I got the details, we can answer your question right after this.
Website and sensational software. Just remember, don't whine, don't moan, don't yell. Just remember, don't whine, don't moan, don't yell.
What is this?
Remember, don't whine, don't
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Where does he find this stuff? Kyle Benham, my musical director. Let me tell you, if you like the music that you hear on this show, or conversely, if you hate it and you want to know what to avoid, Kyle makes a Spotify playlist available on his Google Plus account, KYLE space BENHAM. And then, of course, we copied over to techguylabs.com because we're lazy and he did the work.
Have computer problems, you're not alone.
It's back! It's back! Leo Laporte, the tech guy. That's I think that's a tribute to the old TV show I used to do called Call for Help. This is what we do now, Call for Help. Henry with a call for help from Garden Grove, California. Hi, Henry. Hello, Henry. Wait a minute. Oh, that's my fault. I lost focus on my window. This is one of the reasons I hate Windows. Java update available. Okay, thank you. Goodbye. Goodbye. Now let's go to line 2. Goodbye. Jeez Louise.
Here, I got it.
And I wait a minute. No, actually, I want to continue with Debbie anyway. Hi, Debbie. I'm sorry, and then I'll go to Henry. So, Debbie, you say that something has gone terribly wrong with your system. Am I doing something wrong?
No, she's there.
Hello, Debbie? Is she there, or have I done something wrong? She should be. I seem to have lost control. Let me press a button here. It's Windows. Of course I've lost control. Are you there? No, that worked. Hi, Debbie. Are you there? Darn it! I broke it. Debbie, call back. I'll get you on. Now, Henry in Garden Grove, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. I've been listening to you for a long time. Really, first time I've called, though.
Well, I'm glad you called. Thank you, Henry.
Thank you. We do a lot of traveling, Europe, Asia. We're going to New Zealand for about 4 to 5 weeks this November doing some camping. And we want to bring along either a tablet or a laptop or something so we can access the Internet, see what weather reports are happening in the future, make reservations at places and such. And since we're traveling, we like to have something kind of small, light, and rugged.
I do think a tablet is a good idea. The issue is going to be Internet access. How do you plan on getting on the Internet?
Well, I don't know. We'd like to do Wi-Fi, but if we're camp, we may not have that choice.
And that actually would be an argument for a tablet because most tablets can do 3G or 4G. They have data from cell phone networks. And if you're in a country that has a data network, you could use it. Now, you've got to be careful because data roaming can be very expensive. That is when you're on a foreign network using their data, they charge back your phone company at a ridiculously high rate, and then your phone company adds a little cut and charges you back. But AT&T and Verizon both have data plans for use internationally, and that would be not a bad way to go. Get a tablet with 4G like the iPad, and make sure that before you travel, you tell your phone company what countries you're going to be in, and you buy the international data packages. And then, even when you're camping, unless you're really in the backwoods, you should have access to data.
Okay, now can I change a SIMS card or something on that, like on a cell phone? Would that be...
You can, actually. The iPads have micro SIMs in them, and you could do that. I have not done it myself, but I understand you could do that.
Okay.
The other option would be to get a laptop and get a MiFi card. You know, those credit card-sized Wi-Fi access spots that use 3G. Similar idea.
Okay.
And if you're going to be in an individual country for a long time, for more than a month, say, might be worth getting the MiFi card in that country.
Okay.
Now, the question, laptop versus tablet, that's a bigger question a lot of people are asking these days. And, of course, Apple's pushing the notion that we're in a post-PC era, that the tablet, the iPad specifically, could do everything a computer could do and better and easier. And in some ways, they're not far off. I really do think that the tablet interface, that touch interface, for a lot of what we do is great. Not great for a lot of typing. Typing on glass is not as good as typing on a keyboard. But for instance, I took an iPad to Norway with me, took my pictures off the camera, put them on the iPad. And normally I'd put them on a laptop, put them on the iPad, used Apple's $5 iPhoto program, and I was able to get great results, upload it to Facebook. It really worked quite well. So I think for what you just described, a tablet's more than adequate.
Okay.
And also light.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's something to be said for that. If you're backpacking and camping, a lot to be said for that.
Okay. Do you have time for another quick question?
Sure, Henry.
I'm trying to get into HDR photography.
Yeah. High dynamic range, yes.
Exactly. Can you recommend any? I'm not sure whether the Chalk software is like a hack for Canon cameras.
What I like, and what my friend Trey Ratcliffe, who is the king of HDR, likes, is something called Photomatics. But before you even buy anything, what I do is go to Trey's site, stuckincustoms.com. He has a free HDR tutorial in which he describes his process for making some of the most beautiful images you've ever seen. I mean, he really knows how to make HDR sing. HDR, folks, for those who don't know what we're talking about, is using usually 3 separate images, one with a high exposure, one with a low exposure, and one with just right exposure, combining them to give you a broader dynamic range in the picture. You know, our eyes can see much more than the camera can. If you've ever taken a picture of a sunset, you know it doesn't look like it. It looked like when you were at the beach, and that's because there's a lot of very dark and a lot of very bright, and the camera just can't combine the two unless you use HDR. And a lot of Trey's pictures are, in fact, of sunsets for that very reason. You can see all the detail. Now, I think HDR can be a little gimmicky. I'd be a little careful. Used judiciously, it's a really neat technique. Used incorrectly, it can make things look like candy. But sometimes people want that effect. But the best way to find out about HDR is to go to stuckincustoms.com. Read his free tutorial, which is excellent. He offers a DVD, also paid version of it. And then he uses, as I believe, a program called Photomatics in addition to Photoshop. He uses the two together. And it's more complicated than I have time to explain. But I think it's a useful technique. I did a number of HDRs in Norway, which I will, one of these days, process. It takes a lot of processing afterwards, and that sometimes slows me down. Hi, Debbie. I'm so sorry I hung up on you.
Oh, yes. I'm so excited to get back in.
All right.
Okay, so I have the Windows 7, and what happened after I had the last update last month, my computer died, my husband's died.
Ooh.
But then, yes, exactly. But not worrying about the other one. This one, it's an 08, and it's been working great since I had the Windows 7. Haven't had any issues.
Okay.
But like I said, this last month I got a window, after the Windows update, I got dollar signs all over my monitor, and then it kept trying to reboot. I went in, I did get an error message after restore, and the error message is 0x80.
Yeah, that's not meaningful. So something not good has happened. I would guess that almost certainly both of those computers were compromised in some way. It seems unlikely that both of them would have this. You know, normally, look at hundreds of millions of people run Windows Update every month and don't have this happen.
Exactly.
So there's something unusual about your system. And the fact that you and your husband's systems both had problems indicates that might have been that there's some malware that got into your network and affected both systems. And this is not unusual that malware would do this. It would give you exactly this result. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have the recovery discs that came with your computer, the System Restore?
I do, because it's but it's Vista and not the Windows 7, because it was my nephew who he had.
Well, if you don't have a licensed copy of Windows 7, I can't really help you. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy.